Welcome back to ConvinceMeAudio, and a special greetings for CHORD Electronics. After 7 years of hiatus, this British company are back with a swing with the Mojo 2. A special thank you to Mo, one of our viewers, for lending the channel this unit for review so quickly after release. I really do appreciate it. As you can imagine, the anticipation for this unit has been quite big and there is quite a lot to talk about. So, without further ado, let's begin. Now, the original Mojo was somewhat notorious for audiophiles, especially those people who like to take their equipment on the go due to the fact that it had high power, excellent sound, and quite honestly, quite versatile for the time. We are talking 7 years prior to the release of this new one, and times were very different then. Micro USB was the galore, wireless connection was sketchy at best, and for audiophiles, with DAPs and with their devices such as phones and stuff, they needed a proper Amp-DAC. And CHORD stepped into the arena with Oppo and some of the others, and they were battling it out hard. And at the time, the offerings were very, very, very slim, as you can imagine, obviously. But nowadays, we are in a revolution of DAPs, IEMs, and other audio electronical products that are just insane. So, let's see what CHORD Electronics have come up with after 7 years of work since the previous Mojo. You pay £450 for this. It's from Blighty. This is one of our own companies, obviously, so I'm extremely enthused and excited to see this product. So, there we go. A magnetized clasp for the box, lifting like so, with foam at the top to actually protect what's underneath. Then we have a booklet type of cover here that doesn't come off, it's just there. We've got our cards, instruction manual, cleaning cloth, very nice, and more cards and more information, and here it is, nestled in the box. Let's take this unit out. Okay, and we have a cable as well. Let's have a look at that, and some salt for our chips as usual, don't need that. Now, setting this box aside, we no longer need it. Go over there, we don't need you right now. Instruction manual and stuff, all very basic things. Like a deck of cards, we don't need this either, because we're here for this thing. First of all, actually, let's take a look at this cable. Let's see what we got. Yoink! We have a very short micro USB cable. Whoa, God, we're still in 2014. Okay, don't care for that. Don't want it, don't need it. Please tell me that's not how we're going to deal with this thing. Picking up the unit, it reminds me very much of the original. They've not really departed from old traditions, have they? Oh, we have an extra button here. So, and here is the unit. Aeroplane grade aluminium. Sandblasted, CNC machined, absolutely stunningly well built. The same size as a small deck of cards and weighs 180 grams. Very ergonomic in the hand. Because of connections on either side of the unit, landscape is the design. So you hold it like this. And going around the unit, let's start with the face first. So we have power on and off button here. Then there's a separator, which is wonderful. I love this, especially for inside pocket use. The volume up and down, and the new addition of a menu button. Now, all of these light up, as we will see in a second. Going to the bottom of the unit, depending on how you hold it, or the right hand side, we have an optical cable connection here, throughputing 24-bit 96 kilohertz, very nice. We have a charging port via micro USB. Not a fan of this at all. But from their press clippings is due to the old poly, which is still around, the streaming adapter for this thing, and I've not had much time with a poly, I've not experienced it, so one of our viewers is planning to send one in for review when it lands at their place, and with a bit of luck we'll be able to use it with this, and I'll come back to this at a later date. So, micro USB charging port. This device takes 3.5 hours to charge from dead, And while this unit is on charge and plugged into the wall, they do advise to use a charger that is at least 2 amps. The charging port will pulsate with specific colors while it's going through the charging process, and then it will illuminate with a blue LED when it's fully charged. This menu button here will indicate red if the charging brick is not really powerful enough, and if the unit's obviously switched off at the time and you need to use a more powerful charger. It's a good indicator there. There is a lot of color configurations you will have to memorize, so you will either have to have a photographic memory or keep the manual handy at times. Proceeding to the next micro USB data port, the throughput on this USB controller is 32-bit 768 kHz. Wonderful. Then we have a USB-C, and the same controller and the same throughput applies to this USB-C 2. This is a 32-bit 768 kHz. Right, next to that we have something interesting. We have coax via a 3.5 entry. Using a dual data cable, you can get 768 kHz with this unit when partnering with their M scaler. The M scaler is 3,500 or so. This is 450 pounds. I don't know who would be doing that or what the thought process was behind that, but we'll explore that later on in the review because the mind does boggle. Going to the top of the unit, or the left hand side, if you're holding it like so, we have 2 3.5 single-ended jacks. Now, Rob Watts designs these units from start to finish with control, power, regulation and quality in mind. The single-ended on this unit is as good as any balanced on any other unit. You do not need to worry. And especially for those of you who carry a lot of IEMs with you, most of the time they come with single-ended cables. That's fantastic. I mean, there are 2 3.5 jacks in reminiscent of the original one. I don't understand why they couldn't just do a 4.4 or 2.5 just for ease of use. You can still take that single-ended, but for the connection plug, use it as a convenience factor. This can be done and engineered. A bit of a hard work, but meh, it should have been done. Flipping the unit over, we have 3 feet and we have this square controller for the USB-C. I mean, it balances and sits perfectly flush, so it's exactly the same height. It doesn't wobble. It's just a bit odd. I mean, USB-C controllers are rather big, and above it we have the coax. Maybe that's why they couldn't do it and they implemented this implementation. It's intriguing. You don't see it much, but this unit is very, very well built. Rattles like a deck of cards. Please don't rattle it, you don't need to, I just did it for you guys. And a nice indentation for your thumb to hold it like this so it doesn't run away from you. So that's the hardware. Now let's talk about the specifications and functions of the Mojo 2. This unit can output 600 milliwatts around 30 ohms, 90 milliwatts at 300 ohms, and 30 milliwatts at 600 ohms, and you can put up to 800 ohm headphones on there. I have not come across an 800 ohm headphone myself, but you may have. Your mileage may vary. I have a 600 ohm one right back there. Bayer Dynamics DT880s, very fun sounding headphone, one of the most weirdest frequency response, but we'll get to that review at some point. Dynamic range on this unit is 125 dB at 2.7 volts. Distortion comes in at 0.00027 at 300 ohms at 2.5 volts. Stereo separation at 118 dB at 2.7 volts. Quite honestly, the noise floor and the specifications of this unit is quite incredible. This little thing is quite remarkable. I really, really do like it. So basically, your IEMs, your over-ear headphones, and your hard-to-drive headphones are all covered. As you can see by all the headphones around us, I have put this unit through its paces and have tested at least 12 headphones on it. We will get onto that in the sound section and headphone compatibility. But now let's proceed onto some of the functions of this unit. Like I mentioned, the Mojo 2, like the Mojo 1, makes use of colored lights in these baubles to actually identify a function and an execution. By holding the power button top left for 2 seconds, The unit goes through a testing phase and a check-in phase of all systems before it comes on. It takes 15 seconds, so be aware of that. Once the unit is on, you hear a relay click and you're ready to go. Now, this unit can be as simple and as complicated as you want it to be. The menus, the colored lights, and the functions, which we will go through now, becomes muscle memory after a while. After 3 days, I feel extremely confident with this, and I can't even see the freaking thing. So you should be more than fine. No complaining down below. But a display here would actually have been very, very handy for most people. So, like I stated, this power button up top left will indicate not only that it's on, obviously, but the sample rate which the music is playing at and the throughput from the USBs, the coax, the optical, etc. Next to it or below it, the volume indicators up and down attenuate via 1 dB per press, like so. Very clicky tactile feedback buttons and absolutely fantastic. When this menu button is illuminated, that basically means it's in high gain mode for over-ear headphones and very hard to drive headphones. This unit does all of these functions automatically by itself. We do not actually need to execute this. Once we have gone through this, the next thing to proceed with is the following. So, pressing the menu once and then pressing the down menu, adjust the brightness of the unit and of the lights. Once you have chosen your correct setting, within a couple of seconds, it will actually go back into the main menu mode, basically ready to use. But you can press the power button once to actually just exit out there, just to be on the safe side. Now for the interesting aspects of this unit where the old Mojo did not come with. By pressing the menu once and pressing the up button once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, we get to the crossfeed section of the unit, the DSP correction. This function actually works really well on specific headphones. It's not the same for everything. You can go from minimum, moderate, and maximum and off, obviously. I've been using it so much that when going back to the original stock flat sound of the Mojo, to be honest with you, it's very difficult to go back. It's so well implemented. It's absolutely fantastic. This crossfeed section implementation has helped with headphones like the Lyrique, this one here. A review for this will be coming soon. If you're interested in that, you know what to do. Press the subscribe button. And if you do own one, let me know in the comment section what you think of it. I've been using it with the Elite, and I've been using it with the Verite close behind me, and with the Stellias up there that you can't see off camera. But we will get on to what a crossfeed sounds like in the sound section. There will be chapters below so you can jump around as per your preference. The next interesting function of the Mojo 2 is the DSP correction. It's a 4-band EQ using a separate core at 104 bits, 705 to 768 kilohertz, and implementing aggressive noise shaping. It's a very interesting approach to the EQ prefix. This is really well implemented. You can boost and cut each of these frequency bands in the 20 Hz region, 125 Hz region, 3K region, and 20 kHz region by 1 dB per push of the button. So we have a 18 dB swing, whether you're cutting by 9 dB or you're boosting by 9 dB. I use this with the Verite closed to great success. Probably some of the best, if not the best, I've ever heard in products that are this size. The next one that is literally as good, I think, might be the Gold Touch. The EQ on those units is phenomenal as well. But what this does for £450 is astounding, absolutely astounding. And the final function in the menu is by pushing it 6 times to lock the keys of the unit, and you can just unlock it by holding both of these volume buttons together or the volume button and the menu at the same time. There will be lights indicating this as well. There is a light for every single little thing, and after a while you'll get used to it. When the bauble up here indicates a purple or magenta. It basically means it's in desktop mode. And one of the other interesting functions of this is when the unit is off and you hold both the volume buttons, while it's powering on, it goes into line out mode, giving you a 3-volt output. Just make sure when it's in line out mode, you don't connect a headphone to the other side by accident and just blow your brains out. But I'm sure you'll stay safe. Remember, ears, you only get them once. Once it's gone, that's it, you're done. Anyway, that covers the functions, the software, and the usability of the Mojo 2. But why don't we talk about what's important? Let's get on to the sound. Okay, let's switch this unit off, we don't need it anymore. The first headphone I used, and the synergy with this Mojo 2, was the Lyrique. It's absolutely astounding. This unit, I am not hyping, I am not in the honeymoon phase, because I have the equipment behind me to test it and put it up against it, is more pleasant than the A90 D90 stack, a better resolving DAC, the FPGA programmed by Rob Watt's DAC with his own patented design, is better than the D90 SE, hands down. This unit exceeds the CHORD Cutest, which I found rather soft sounding, and I owned and I used with the HDVD 820 amplifier from Sennheiser. So I was living with that, and it was going to be my endgame setup for a long time. Funny how life changes, isn't it? With this headphone, it's astounding. And it can push not only this portable headphone, but it can push something like this beauty behind me here, the Verite Closed, which is a 300 ohm headphone. We stated that this unit pushes about 90 milliwatts into 300 ohms, but it powers those extraordinarily well. It's not the fact that it powers it to a very good loud volume. You can't even get to like 50% on those headphones, by the way. But it's the fact that it's got control in the bass region. It's got the punch, the weight, and the impact. And it doesn't change the frequency response so that you get loud treble, no bass, and no current powering those over-ear headphones. It was astounding. I am blown away. I've been ranting and raving about this unit because those of you who are in the chat, those of you who are in the game and who are just starting and about to spend 500 on a desktop setup, don't. You need to buy this. There are quirks, which we will get onto in the caveat section, but it sounds phenomenal. Absolutely beautiful. Now, let's break down the frequency response. Starting with the bass region, in the sub-bass section, it does not roll off. You got full sub-bass control, as indicated by the Verite Closed behind me. And also, using the DSP correction, increasing the sub-bass by 1 dB, because that was the largest amount the driver could take before it came out of its comfort zone, and it just didn't do well. I mean, it sounded very good. Or maybe I'm just a little bit OCD and I like it stock. Was absolutely astounding. That slight elevation, the way the DSP correction in this sweeps, not just at 20 Hertz, but everything around it, was so natural, it was astounding. On the Lyrique, absolute control. Fantastic speed, good texture, fantastic attack, and you get perfectly controlled rumble. On the Focal Stellia, it was not too pleasant. On the Focal Stellia, it's the worst synergy I've ever heard with a portable device. The IFI Go Blue over there somewhere is doing a much better job. So synergy is a thing. But on everything else, it's been astounding. And I'm really surprised because the Stellia can be driven by anything. Climbing up to the mid-bass region, it's very punchy. It's very well textured, and the output stage is 3 volts on this, and it really is very good. You get the full attack, you get good separation, good pinpoint accuracy, good texture, and very identifiable. And it doesn't overshoot transients, and it does not bleed. The upper bass region of the category is very well controlled, and it's not too far back or too far forward. It actually helps the treble region quite a lot as well. So in things like horns and attacks of tom-toms, it's very fully formed. The mid-range, depending on the crossfeed options you choose, let's go with off for now until we can get to that section of the crossfeed section. It's extremely musical, very smooth sounding without actually being overly smooth and smoothing over instruments. It's got good edge of attack, it's got good texture. The tonal balance is so beautiful. It's astoundingly resolving for what you get. This is playing with the big boys in the $1,000 DAC category. I am astounded. Everything is separated and distinctly spaced out beautifully. Though the sound on the Mojo 2 is a little bit small. Instruments don't sound massive, but it's a chord thing. The cutest was the same, the Hugo 2 was the same. Things don't sound really large, but it's little, it's pointy, it's everywhere like a dot of stars. Very well spaced out. The spatial presentation in the mid-range is absolutely wonderful. You get this warm, without being overly veiled, it's very transparent soundscape. The mids and the upper mids do not come forward or back. It's very neutral, very flat. There's no nasaliness and there is no honkiness, and it's just a smooth rise into the treble region. The treble region is very well articulated. It's very well textured. It sounds really real. I'm quite surprised by the topology and the implementation of the FPGA in this, but CHORD are known for it. They have built this in-house, and the timbre, well, I guess we're jumping onto the timbre now. So the timbre is just very, very good. It actually exceeds all of the lower tier DACs we have reviewed on the channel from $1,000 and below. Like the Soundcast SGD1, like the D90 SE, it's pretty astounding. Soundstage is pretty big on this, but it's not overly large. I would say it's more along the lines of the A90 rather than a Syncsa SA1 presentation. And this is due to the amplifier inside this unit, obviously. The soundstage is not a vast landscape. This Elite really does do well on this, and you get the full scope of the stage this headphone is capable of. Per the review of this unit, I'm not sure if it's going to be out yet or not, the soundstage on this unit is very, very large anyway. If you're planning to buy anything under $1,000 for a desktop setup, I would heavily consider this before anything else, because you can just take it off the desk and use it on the go as well. The only problem being there's a battery in there, but because there's a regulator in there, when you're in desktop mode, it fluctuates the battery so that it charges and cycles properly without it constantly charging, and does not destroy the battery. But we will see after about a year or so. I'm bringing one of these units for myself, for my laptop bag, so I'll be able to give you a 6 months review down the road. Okay, let's talk about headphone synergy in detail. The Verite Closed had absolutely brilliant low end, gorgeous, gorgeous mid-range, and a very smooth treble region. Those headphones are very, very beautiful sounding anyway, but on this, I think you can be fine. The synergy with it is so good that it honestly rivaled my Dynello with the HDVD 800, and that was the first time me hearing the Verite Closed and me going, I am going to own this headphone sometime down the road, which I now have done. It's that freaking good. You just won't believe that this is a £450 product. I am telling you that now. It's got a lot of hardware quirks, which we will get onto, but sonically, it's absolutely superb. The texture, the separation, the timbre, the vocals for male and female, the spatial presentation, the tonality is just very good. It's out resolving and outdoing the CHORD Q-Test, which is a $1,800 DAC from CHORD themselves. I wonder if they're going to be upgrading that soon too. I think there might be a tidal wave of products coming from them very shortly, judging by this, because they said in one of their videos that I came across. So what does current poly mean? Is there another poly in the works? But we will see. I have no idea. The Elite has been the best synergy with this. So good that I have just absolutely loved it. Like, you're not missing anything. When you walk away from the desk, usually with a headphone or IEM, your brain goes, oh, this is great, but it could be better because I've heard it at the desk. With this, honestly, honestly, I have not missed anything, and I've been using it solidly for 16 hours over the last 3 days to get you guys this review ASAP. Let's get on to the Crossfeed section. Like I stated, there's minimum, moderate and max, and each one is dependent on the headphone you use. For example, on the Lyrique Moderate, it gives it a slightly warmer mid-range. It spaces instruments out, smooths out the treble a little bit, and it's the most honey, attacky, beautiful, authoritative portable headphone I have right now. And I've got 4 of them. I've got the VC, the XC, the Stellia, and this. So it's not like I'm short of headphones. But with this 2 together, I don't think I'm gonna let this go. We'll see on the review. Shame about the Stellias though. The focal synergy was not good in the slightest. It's warm, it's mushy, it's not quick enough for the beryllium drivers, and yet the VC is beryllium and is absolutely astounding. So I don't understand, but the focal did not play nice with any of the Crossfeed. I tried all of them and I tried it stock, it didn't like it. The Elite liked Max for the Crossfeed. It opened the stage more. It gave it a little bit more treble and a little bit more transparency and a little bit better tonal balance and spatial presentation. I absolutely loved it with those headphones. I've also been using this with things like behind me, like the HD650, the 58X, the DT880s, just the kind of lower end of the spectrum, and yes, it pushes them all to their limits, their absolute limits. So I can't say any more good things about the sound of this unit. It's honestly that freaking incredible. But there are problems. So let's get on to the caveat section now. This unit is making use of micro USB in 2022. You will be owning this for the next 5 years. This is a bad design. If you wanted it to be compatible with the poly, you should have released a new poly. It's as simple as that. And I'm pretty sure you are. This micro USB charging connection is nothing short of criminal in 2022. We are already shouting about Apple to get rid of the Lightning, and yet we have to backpedal with the micro USB function of this unit. I don't care for that. No. At least let me charge via the USB-C. You can't do that. I mean, this unit does give you 8 hours of battery life in every circumstance. We've not had long enough with it to actually test the battery to see if this is the case, but that's a good average battery life. I mean, my Poor 6000 review for that, I will get onto, I promise, is 16 freaking hours. But I think this might edge it out for sound. That has a much blacker background. This unit has more of a slightly grayer background, but on the Low 2 product it's pitch black. It's absolutely astounding. But for attacking the lower region, the Mojo 2 definitely takes it over the Poor 6000. It's that good, but that's a DAP. So bear that in mind. And that is 3 times the price of this. Holy crap, I just realized that it's 3 times the price. No, buy this. So, no balanced. That's neither here nor there. It could make cables awkward, I suppose, if you've got lots of headphones. But if you've got lots of headphones, I'm sure you've got single-ended. So you can go from balanced to single-ended pretty straightforward. But it's an irritation because we have 2 3.5 jacks here. One of them could have been used for something else. That's a gripe I have. But the most important gripe I have about this unit is that it takes a long time to warm up. The first 10 minutes sounds treble nightmare. It's not good. So much so that when I wake up at 3:45, I leave it on running until I shower, make my coffee around 4:25, and then I plug it in to my headphones. The next 15 minutes after that, it sounds overly warm and overly soft, and it's not really good. It's definitely not a full experience as you get on this. But once you hit the 35-minute mark, this thing comes alive and it's an instant change. You can literally hear it as if there's a relay switch being clicked or something. And the change it goes through is absolutely astounding. I am quite surprised. Like, it's amazing. But you do need to leave it running for 35 minutes. So if you've got a short commute, I recommend leaving this on at home before you leave the house, because otherwise during that 35-minute commute, you're just gonna get trebliness in the first 10 minutes and yeah, soft sounding in the next 15 after that. Not really good. It does need warming up, but if you're using it at the desk, it's always warm and it always sounds freaking good. I've run it with Audiovana, I've run it with Roon, I've run it with Cobuzz and Apple Music. The next thing which I don't understand is the implementation of the M scaler 768 kilohertz for the coax connection at the bottom. Who would pair a $3,500 M scaler with a $450 Amp-DAC? Only CHORD can answer that question, because even if somebody who's got an M scaler has got a Hugo TT2 and has got a Dave, they will not be pairing it with this. So I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. They should have used that for something else. But it is there if you want it. Options and all that, eh? And having to learn all of these menus, which does become muscle memory after a while, is a bit difficult. Like one menu down, not up, for the display, one menu up for the crossfeed, 2 menus for the sub bass, 3 menus for the mid bass, 4 menus for the lower treble, 5 menus for the upper treble, 6 menus to lock it, and then you've got the up and down for specific things like the DSP correction. You can go down or up. You can't go down or up for the brightness. You can only go one way and you have to cycle through it. Same for the cross feed. You can only go up and just go round and round and round rather than up and down. That's a bit annoying, but it is what it is. It's muscle memory. To be honest with you, once you set this up, you don't really change those. Apart from the crossfeed, I don't think you'd use any of the other functions much once you set it. And once you do set it, to save it, you just switch it off and back on again. It just saves it. It's fine. It's good. The relay click is assuring. It always tells you on. It will indicate whether it's on or not. The lights are nice. But those are some of the caveats, really. The micro USB and the lack of Bluetooth. I forgot to mention. Oh, that gets me so freaking angry. No Bluetooth on this thing. When I was listening to it with a Lyric, I could see why they wouldn't implement Bluetooth, because they want you to have the full sound quality. But I'm sorry, convenience is key. And you end up looking like a cyborg. Cable here, cable there. And you have to use this thing, the Apple MFI Lightning to USB. I don't even have my phone here. Where is it? So I have to connect this here, this like this, then a cable from that to this, and then there's this cable that goes from this to this like that. It's just like that. So you got all of this like this. You know who you are if you want this. But I think for somebody who goes to the office and uses it on the go and then with their laptop, it's absolutely amazing. Absolutely incredible. That's why I want one for my laptop bag. Did I forget anything?
You forgot about tigers. There's no tiger rating. Tiger rating. 2 tiger rating. Tigers. Tigers. Tiger rating.
No. That's been the CHORD Mojo first look and quick review. We've only had 3 days with this, and I have to hand it back to Mo. Thank you so much, mate. I really do appreciate it for lending it to the channel. It's been a bit of a bedlam here, but it's been fantastic. Any questions about it, please put it in the comment section below and I'll try and answer it. Or if you want impressions and earlier reviews, consider joining the Ambush of Tigers Patreon. All the information will be down below. And I would like to extend a massive thank you to my public Telegram chat group. It's thriving over there. Thank you for joining, it's wonderful. I am Koji CEO. I'll see you next time. Peace.